All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about the absolute foundation for assessing animal welfare. We're going to cover 5 core principles that you just can't do without if you want to be a professional in this field. This is the bedrock for everything you'll do in this unit, so let's get straight to it.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. You see an animal, it looks great, coat is shiny, it's at a good weight, no obvious signs of injury, so its welfare must be good, right? Well, maybe not. That's the exact assumption we're here to unpack today. And let's get real for a second, because this stuff matters out in the field. Picture this. You're trying to tell an owner that their perfectly healthy dog is actually showing signs of chronic stress. But they're looking at you like you're crazy. What's your evidence? What do you say? This isn't just a textbook problem, you know? This is a core professional skill you're going to need every day.
To handle those tough conversations and, actually make a difference for animals, you need the right tools in your toolkit. And these 5 principles, they are those tools. They give you the structure, the right words, and even the legal backup to turn what you see into real, meaningful action.
Okay, first things first. Principle number 1 is all about getting the core concepts straight. Before you can even begin to assess anything, you have to be absolutely crystal clear on what it is you're looking for. This is the lens you'll use for everything else.
And here's the most important distinction you need to make. Physical health is pretty straightforward. It's about disease and injury. The question is the animal sick? And yeah, that's super important, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. Animal welfare goes so much deeper. It asks, how is this animal feeling? How is it actually coping with its life, with the world around it? See, an animal's welfare isn't like a light switch that's just on or off. It's not good or bad. It's a whole scale, a continuum. An animal could be absolutely thriving, or just kind of getting by, or really suffering. Your job is to figure out where on that scale they are at any given moment.
So why does this matter so much? Because if you mix up health and welfare, you will absolutely miss the big stuff. You'll walk right past the parrot that's physically fine but is bored out of its mind, or the dog that's well-fed but is riddled with anxiety. Getting this distinction right is what separates a casual observer from a real professional.
All right, so if we know the difference between health and welfare, how do we actually go about assessing it in a structured way? Well, that leads us right into Principle 2, using frameworks and assessment tools.
The best way to think about a framework is like a blueprint. I mean, you wouldn't build a house without one, right? It's a structured guide that makes sure you check all the important areas, so you don't miss a thing. It makes your work thorough, consistent, and, really importantly, easy to explain to others.
A really great example you'll use all the time is the 5 domains model. It walks you through the physical stuff, sure, nutrition, environment, health. But then, and this is the game changer, it forces you to look at behavior and then pull all of that information together to make an educated guess about the animal's mental state, its actual feelings.
And here's the thing, you need to be able to explain why you chose a particular framework. Justifying your method is what shows you're a thinking professional, not just a robot ticking boxes. It proves you're considering the specific animal and its unique situation.
Okay, so you've got your concepts down and you've chosen your blueprint. Now it's time for Principle 3, observing the whole picture. This is where you actually get down to gathering your evidence.
The first step has to be 100% objective. What do you literally see? No judgments, no interpretations, just the facts. Things like body condition score is a 2 out of 5, or the dog is pacing back and forth in a 3-step pattern. Its ears are pinned flat against its head. This is your raw, undeniable data.
Once you have that solid foundation of facts, then you can move on to making a subjective inference. This is where you become a detective. You take all those little clues, the pacing, the body score, the ear posture, and you put them together to figure out what they mean. In this case, it all points to the animal probably feeling stressed or scared. This is where you connect the dots.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? A truly good assessment isn't just about filling out a form. It's about seeing the connections. It's about noticing how a boring, empty environment is causing that repetitive, anxious behavior, which is crushing the animal's mental state. You're there to tell the animal's whole story. Now, all of this important work doesn't just happen in a bubble. And that brings us to a really serious one. Principle 4, your legal obligations. Everything you observe and report is connected to a whole system of rules and responsibilities.
You've got to know the laws in your state, the specific codes of practice for your industry, whether it's a vet clinic or a farm, plus any national standards, and of course, your own workplace's specific rules.
These are not optional extras, they're the absolute rules of the game.
And you have to take this seriously because the stakes can be incredibly high. Your assessment could end up as evidence in a court case. If you suspect cruelty and you don't know your legal duty to report it, well, that's not just a simple mistake. It can have massive consequences for you, for your job, and most of all, for the animal you're trying to help. All of this hard work, the observation, the frameworks, the legal awareness, it all leads to our final and maybe the most important principle of all, taking it from assessment to action. Because honestly, an assessment by itself doesn't change a thing.
Your job isn't over when the form is filled out. That's actually when the real work starts. You have to look at what you found, come up with some real, practical suggestions for what to do next. And then, and this part is key, you have to present those ideas to the people involved and listen to their feedback.
This whole pathway, this is the entire point. This is the engine that actually creates change. It's how your careful work turns into something real for the animal, like a better enrichment plan, or a different diet, or a safer place to live.
You know, there's a line in the material for this unit that just hits the nail on the head. It says, an assessment report that sits in a folder changes nothing for the animal. And it's so true. It doesn't matter how amazing your assessment is. If it just sits there and doesn't lead to action, it was incomplete.
So as we wrap this up, I really want you to think about that. When you master these 5 principles, you gain this incredible power to see what other people might miss, and the tools to actually do something about it. So once your assessment is done, what happens next is truly up to you.